So hello everybody. So it's 9 o'clock, so we're going to start on time. So I'm Emmanuel from Emmanuel Lemoine Interiors. And today for this webinar, we're going to speak about how to make an elegant interior healthier and eco-friendly. So I'm going to start by introducing myself for those who don't know me very well. So I'm Emmanuel, and my background is biology. So I've studied genetics and physiology of microorganisms, and I worked mainly on detection tests. So I worked as a biologist in laboratories to start with, and after that I went to work for charities. So I was the program manager in biology with the aim to improve standards of laboratory, and then I went as a head of mission in other places. And after a little while, I moved in the UK. I had children, and I settled, and I decided that it was time for me to settle and to work around the children. So I didn't want to go back to the laboratory work because it's very obsessive, and I wanted to do something, using my creative side. I'm very creative, practical, and down to earth. So I just thought, okay, well, I know exactly what I want to do. I've always been passionate about interiors. So I went back to school to become an interior designer. So I went to the famous School of Design, KLC, which is based in Chelsea Harbour, and got my diploma with honors. And I started by working for an established interior designer in North London. And then I decided to go on my own and set up my own company, Emmanuel Lemoine Interiors. So what I wanted to bring by setting up my own company on top of a good design is the healthy design, the healthy part of it, which is what we're going to talk about today. So when I say healthy, I say healthy about, for us, for the inhabitants of the house, and also healthy for the planet. So in the first part of this talk, I'm going to talk about why we want a healthy and environmentally responsible interior. So why is that important? Why healthy? So because there is an increasing problem with the lack of quality in the air that we breathe inside our house. So we say IAQ stands for indoor air quality. In our effort to build energy efficient homes that are tightly constructed, we have created indoor air problem due to poor ventilation plus the use of toxic materials and finishes. So whatever comes in the house stays in the house. The United States Environment Protection Agency, known as well as EPA, so reports that the air in new homes can be 10 times more polluted than outdoor. And according to the New England Journal of Medicine, 40% of children will develop respiratory diseases, in part due to chemicals in their homes. Studies have also shown the cost of bad indoor air quality. So here in this table, you can see that if we were to increase the indoor air quality, we would reduce the respiratory disease, and that would create a saving of between 6 to 14 billion dollars. So it's not just nothing. Just again, improving the indoor air quality would reduce allergy and asthma, which would be another saving between 1 and 4 billion. And that would also reduce all the SBS related illness. We're going to talk about the SBS later on, and that would be another saving of 10 to 30 billion dollars. And there's another very interesting fact is that just by improving the indoor air quality, there is a direct improvement in the worker performance, which is not related to health, and not only would create a saving of 20 to 60%, $20 billion. So all of that shows that demonstrated what people think that being green or eco-friendly costs money, when in this case it demonstrates the contrary, that it could save quite a lot of money. So beginning of 1940s appeared the first illness linked to bad indoor air quality. And first, those illnesses were not very well understood. We talk about MCS, known as a multiple chemical sensitivity. So people are sensitive to chemicals that are present in very low concentration. MCS is a chronic problem, so it doesn't stop when the people have left the building, so it's quite problematic. Then you've got the SBS, sick building syndrome, which is an acute illness. So it happens while the person is in the building and decreases while out of the building. So the symptoms are a cough, a runny nose, inflamed or itchy eyes, sore throat, and headaches. So the symptoms only affect the people while they are in the building and go away when you leave the building. So which is better than with the MCS, with the people suffering long after they left the building. Then you've got other indoor air quality related illnesses, and for example allergic reactions in particular interior environment, or people with asthma are more likely to have an episode in a particular environment. So just to say that there is a problem which is now fully recognized. So what are the triggers of those illnesses, so MCS and SBS? So the triggers are the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, and the petrochemical fuels. So the VOCs are carbon-based molecules typically used as solvent in products such as household cleaners, paint, inks, and dyes. Many of them are irritants, and some can be toxic. So you have here a list of the different, for example, xylene is an aromatic component of petroleum, and it has a sharp solvent odor. It is moderately toxic and is used as solvent for dyes, inks, paint, and adhesive. Toluene is another aromatic component of petroleum with a strong solvent odor and is highly inflammable and moderately toxic. Toluene is used as solvent for adhesive and inks and may cause lung cancer. Benzene, a carbon and hydrogen compound made from petroleum and coal with a ring-shaped molecule. So benzene is one of the most common building blocks for synthetic chemicals found in synthetic fibers and plastics. It's highly toxic and carcinogenic. It is now listed as a hazardous air pollutant under the 1990 Clean Air Act. acetone, so which is a chemically derived solvent, and it's usually found in masonry, concrete wall coverings, strippers, adhesive, polyurethane stains, and sealer. So indoors, VOCs are major air pollutants, and outside, VOCs react with other pollutants, and they produce a ground level ozone. So all of that, you would agree, is not very, very good. So in the house, one of the most common indoor pollutant is formaldehyde. And formaldehyde is now classified by the World Health Organization, WHO, as a human carcinogen. Formaldehyde is found in kitchen cabinets, countertop shelvings, furniture, which is constructed with particle boards. So they are held, the particle boards are held together by formaldehyde-based adhesives. And there is very often a smell which is linked with a new house, so which we can call the new house smell. And that smell comes from all the VOCs that are off-gassed by paints and all the new things that were introduced in the house. And I would say generally that if it smells, then it means that there is something. And so this is why, I could ask you to smell, two different pots of paint, a normal paint and a zero VOC paint, and so that you would be able to make the difference straight away. And that reminds me of the daughter of a client who was very positively surprised after we painted her mother's kitchen. The daughter could remember that she had been sick after painting her small flat, whereas she couldn't smell a thing after we just painted her mother's kitchen. So in the house, VOCs can be found in all sorts of products and materials. And there is always an example that I like to bring, is that, for example, in a new family or in a new family to be, you've got a baby that is on its way, and some people, just they all wait a new baby, so we're going to prepare a brand new bedroom, and we paint the bedroom and bring all sorts of new furniture, and all those VOCs just from the paint will be off gas for the next 2 years and be inhaled by the tiny little bodies. So can't say that's very, very good. So now we've seen the different problematic on the health side, and why it's important to be careful with what we bring inside our house. We are going to see why it's also important to think eco-friendly. So we've all heard about problems linked with the degradation of our environment. So we've all heard about excessive pollution, so outside and inside, global warming, water and energy shortage, depletion of natural resources with the depletion of biodiversity. So in 2005, there was an assessment by the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, MEA, and this assessment included 1,360 scientists from all around the world. And they concluded that the ability of the planet's ecosystem to sustain future generations can no longer be taken for granted. So that's something to worry about. So we're just overusing our resources. So we can, there is the ecological footprint, which measure how fast we consume resources, and so it measures how fast we consume resources and generate waste, compared to how fast nature can absorb our waste and generate new resources. So the ecological footprint is a measure of natural resources consumption, and show that humans are putting enormous pressure on the earth. The footprint can be used to calculate the total amount of land country need to produce the resources that they use, and that is the biocapacity. So those two things are quite important, and they allow us to see what we're doing at the moment. So for example, in 1961, humanity used about half of the planet biocapacity. So that was good, there was still place. In 2003, the biocapacity was overgrown by 25%. So we used 25% more than the planet is able to regenerate. So the ecological footprint shows that the planet has been living beyond its means since 1987 and has been drawing down the resources that are the basis for the continued health of the planet. Of course, some countries use more biocapacity than others, and if every human being was to consume at the 2003 level for high-income countries, so that's us, another 2.5 planets would be needed. If everyone consumed at this level, the Earth could only sustain 1.8 billion people and not the 6.5 billion people living on Earth in 2007. If every country has US consumption level, the planet could only support 1.2 billion people. So with the world population projected to be more than 9 billion in 2050, with the rapid growth in developing countries such as China and India, and with the continued high consumption rates in developed countries, my question is, what are we doing? So what are we leaving to our children? So I think that we are foolish to continue the way we're doing, and it's time for everybody to do a little bit, because I do believe that if everybody does their little bits, then little drop by little drop make big ocean. So we could do something. So now we've built a decor, an unhealthy air inside our house, and the bankruptcy of the planet. So what can we do at our scale when we create our living space? How can we not contribute to the natural resources depletion? And how can we improve our indoor air quality? So let's imagine that we're going to design a room. So if we design a room, the strategy is the same as we would use for designing the whole house. So I'm going to pass very quickly on the required stages, which could be the subject to many more talks. But the first thing to do is to measure the room that we're going to work on and draw a plan to scale. Once this is done, you have to decide about what you want to achieve for the room and what furniture you need to include. So you do your research and then you create a furniture layout. So which is the plan which was drawn to scale and the pieces of furniture as you want them in the room. So doing that is very important because now you know exactly what you need, and the crucial stage in our design is the sourcing stage. Why is it the crucial stage? Because it's the stage when we decide what is going to enter inside our house, furniture, what wall covering, what flooring, and also with all these things if there will be a toxic molecule that will be invited or not, and if the material that we've chosen is going to participate to the depletion of the natural resources or not. So the sourcing stage is the very, very important stage. So how can we choose what we are introducing in our house? So there are a few questions to ask before choosing an element for your decor. And as for me, the important one, and this list is not exclusive, so where does it come from? So is this item produced locally? Does it have a huge carbon footprint due to the transport? And where does it go after use? Is it going to end up in a landfill or can it be reused or recycled? Will it biodegrade or not? Does it contain toxic molecule, formaldehyde or other ones? Will it create a bad indoor air quality, leak into the ground when finished into the landfill? So as I was saying before, is it biodegradable? Will it be reused when degraded, or will it stay forever inside the landfill? And if it's wood, is the wood from a responsibly farmed forest, or is it an endangered tree, precious tree? So will the appliance that we use, is it going to be energy saving or not? So there's a lot of different questions that you can ask before you decide if you're going to take to include this specific element or choose another one. So in a scheme, there are different elements that are included, such as wall covering, so whether it be paint, wallpaper, plaster, paneling. Then you've got the floor covering, tiles, wool, carpet, upholstery, fabric, etc., etc. So there are good and bad materials to choose from on a health point of view and on an environmentally point of view. So very often what is good for the health is natural and good for the planet as well, and vice versa. And so what is good for the planet is good for the health. So something that we should consider when choosing a material is the amount of energy that was needed to manufacture it. And this is called the embodied energy. So here are a few materials that we can talk about. For example, the plaster. So plaster is hard and durable and make a lovely surface. And it is made from products that are quite abundant. So you've got glass. Glass is a very interesting resource. The only problem with it is that it is intensive, energy intensive to manufacture, but it's recyclable, and it's a lovely material to have. And when you've got big windows, you've got more light, which is good as well. And then you have paint. So I want to say a tiny bit longer on paints. So just to summarize, there are two main sorts of paint: the petroleum-based and the organic paints. In both cases, paints are made of pigments that provide the color, binding agents, so to make the paint adhere to the surface, solvents, which are the carrying medium for this ingredient and allow a smooth application, and they also contain a variety of additives such as fillers, opacifiers, fungicides, mold inhibitors, softeners. So the synthetic paint production, so whether it be solvent or water-based, derive mainly from oil-based materials, chemicals. So their process uses huge amount of fossil fuel energy and generates large quantity of waste, most of which consist of toxic emission to the air and water. Organic solvents from paint manufacture account approximately 20% of the hydrocarbons that pollute the air atmosphere. And the production of 1 ton of solvent-based paint can, in the worst case, produce as much as 30 tons of dangerous, mainly toxic, non-biodegradable waste. So in addition, when paint or painted surfaces are disposed of, they leak chemicals and pollute air, earth, and water. So the chemical in paint also affect air quality in the homes by off-gassing slowly during natural aging, long after the initial curing period. The WHO, so World Health Organization, has reported that painters suffer 20% more cancer than the average population and 40% more lung cancer. So that makes you think about it. When we talk about the water-based paints, the manufacturers have substituted one set of dangerous chemical for another, including acrylic. So if we talk about now the natural organic paints, so we can say that no paint is 100% safe, but those organic paints are made entirely from natural ingredients, and meet many criteria for products that are safe for the environment and the home. So the vegetables and mineral ingredients used are generally from renewable sources and most exist in abundance. So very few toxic emissions have negligible effect on health and biodegrade safely in water. So there's a huge difference between a natural paint and the other paints. And I must say that in the past, natural organic paint had a restricted range of color, but now there's a huge range of color, and so that's no more restriction to use those organic paints. So now if we talk about other items that are needed for the house. So for the flooring, flooring or wall even, we can talk about the cork and linoleum. So that's when, if I were just next to you, I would show you two samples, vinyl and linoleum, and ask you what the difference between those two things is. So cork and linoleum are natural and renewable. So cork is the bark of a tree, and so we can just crop the bark, and then the tree can carry on living on, and we can crop again, etc., etc. So linoleum and vinyl are different because vinyl is petroleum based. So linoleum is natural linseed oil. It's made out with natural linseed oil and sawdust. So both can be used for wall and flooring. So cork and linoleum are natural, can be used very easily. They will biodegrade and they're lovely. So now we've got all brand new ranges of cork and linoleum, which look very, very nice. And vinyl is petroleum based and not for use. Wall coverings, so you've got rigid paneling as used in grand houses. So if you go for paneling, just check the quality of the board and if they contain or not toxic molecule. Wallpapers can be questionable, but I wouldn't say that at the worst. Vinyl wall covering, so they're cheap and durable, but they are petrochemical derived, and the processing includes dangerous plasticizers, chlorine, and synthetics, inks, and dyes. It is impermeable, and so in addition to off-gassing, they contribute to condensation buildup, so mold growing, and bad indoor air quality. So now if we talk about the carpets, so the carpet industry was confronted when people began to complain of multiple chemical sensitivities or sick building syndrome. There were a lot of toxic treatment that off-gassed badly from the carpets. Now there is a voluntary compliance green label program that tests and verify the absence of many potentially harmful substances. So the green label plus meets the strict guideline for the low VOCs emissions. So now carpet are not as bad as they were, and but it's better to favorize the 100% wool carpet. But even in those cases, that can be chemically treated. Always check the backing, so to make sure that the backing is actually natural. And so it's really better to go with all natural types, no chemical or synthetics, made from wool, specifically domestically made when that's possible. So the carpet recycling, carpet comprises up to 1% of landfills in the US. So it's a huge amount of blocking the landfill just because of the carpet. So that's in total 5 billion pounds. So it's a huge proportion, and it's not biodegradable most of the time because of the nylon. But there is hope for the carpet, and I will talk about that later on when I mention the cradle-to-cradle certified carpets. So not everything is black. So furniture. So when you're going to include furniture in your house, it's better to check what glues and finishes they are made from, so that you can reduce the VOCs, and also to verify where the wood comes from, as you don't want to use endangered species of wood. So here's a list of questions that you can ask before you purchase some cabinetry. And a similar list of questions should be asked before buying anything to go inside the house in order to stay healthy. So that's a very, very big list. But you can just, create a smaller one if you want it. So now you might just think, oh goodness me, I've just decorated the house, I've put some normal paint, bought some new furniture, and I can't just change it all again. So what can I do? And there is a very, very good way of purifying your indoor air. Um, and the good way is to filter and purify the air by the use of green plants. So not only the plants participate to the creation of a beautiful decor and can wrap the skin together, but they are also useful as they act as filter. So it is advised to have one plant per square meter, so for an average height ceiling. The leaves of the plants are the absorbing component, so they absorb the chemical material. So the more leaves, or the bigger, the better, and the more efficient the plant. So there has been some studies showing what sort of chemical some plants do filter. So, for example, you've got Dracaena, which absorbs formaldehyde. Peace lily absorbs ammonia, which is present in cleaning products. The fern Kimberly Queen is the #1 fighter against formaldehyde. Spider plant absorbs toluene, monoxide, carbon, benzene, formaldehyde, and xylene. So there are many more other green plants that you can use in the house as well as in the workspace. So that's just a short list to show you that studies have been done and demonstration that they can filter some bad chemicals. So earlier I just said that talking about the carpets, that they were hope, and I was talking about the cradle to cradle concept. So and I'm sure that you will agree after I talked about the cradle to cradle concept. So for example, we all know what recycling is about. So you've got a bottle, plastic bottle of water, for example, that you buy, you drink the water. And when you finish drinking the water, you take the plastic bottle of water and you put it into a recycling bin. And that feels good because you're recycling something. So the question is, okay, what's going to happen to this plastic bottle of water? Maybe it's going to be reused to make a fleece, for example. So you buy a fleece, you wear it, and then it gets worn out. So now what happens to the fleece? Well, the fleece, unfortunately, is going to end up in a landfill. And this is what we call downcycling. And you will see that the cradle to cradle concept, which is a complete new way of designing things, was introduced by William McDonough and Michael Brancart. And it's completely different because it's a closed loop system. So there is no pollution created, and it is said that the water coming out of the factory should be cleaner than the water coming inside the factory. So if you look here, so you've got some biological component, raw material, which is going to be associated with maybe some synthetic material, go into the manufacture, then you've got maybe a carpet. The carpet is used, and when the carpet is used, the manufacturer takes the carpet back, disassemble the carpet and separate the waste. So whatever is biological and can be decomposed and re-enter the biological circle can be discarded, and the rest is reassembled in a brand new carpet. So you can see the well, how interesting that is. Um, so if you want to know more about it, I invite you to read the book from McDonough and Broncat, Cradle to Cradle. It's a short read, very easy and absolutely fascinating. So the carpets are a very good subject to be manufactured according to the cradle-to-cradle concept. And they are the first cradle-to-cradle material I have used in the project, as we're going to see shortly. But there's many more than just carpets in the cradle-to-cradle material. And I've recently seen at EcoBuild that there will be straw boards prepared. So they are not manufactured right now in the UK, but when they will be manufactured in the UK, there will be a gold certificate. And that's good news, because then instead of having formaldehyde, board, you will have straw board, which are going to be fantastically good. So you can see that more and more products are now manufactured according to the cradle-to-cradle concept. And if you look at the cradle-to-cradle product registry, you will see the many different sorts of products that are manufactured nowadays. And it goes from laundry supply to wall covering, seatings, and the list gets bigger every year. A few years back, when I was going to trade show, it was very difficult to spot, a cradle product. But now there are more and more of them, and that's quite good, really. So just say that there is hope, so which is quite good. So to finish this talk, I'm now going to show you how I have included many green credentials in one of my latest projects. So keeping in mind the healthy problems and the environmental problem. So this project concerns the ladies' powder room for the Royal Air Force in London on Piccadilly. And I must say that the club was a delight to work with, as they were very interested in being more eco-friendly. And we were able to propose many solutions that they really embraced. So that was very interesting, very good. So the brief was, it's a ladies' room, so the brief was feminine, bright, in touch with the style of the club. So as you will see, the scheme is quite pink, feminine, and a little bit of bling with a lot of light and a twist of the old English style with the flowers on the wallpaper. So now talk about all the green credentials that we've taken. The first part that we've taken into consideration was energy saving. So in order to save energy, we've used LED lighting. So LED lighting, as you can see on the photos, as the recessed downlighters, for example. So just a word of caution: when you use LED lights, always be careful and test the light before you have it installed, because LED can be very white and sharp, and it's not very flattering lighting. A few years back, I wouldn't have used LED lights at all, because the light was just too white. And if you look at yourself, in that sort of very sharp light, then you look like a ghost, which is not the effect that you want. But the last few years, I've been able to use some very nice LED lights with a nice warmer color. And that's what we've done here in the club for the recessed downlighters here. And in the staircase as well. We've also used a passive infrared sensor, PIR system. So I'm sure that you've all experienced this. You go into a public place, the light is off, you push the door, enter into the room, and then the light switches on automatically. So that's the sensor just detect movement, and that's how it lights the lights on. And so that when no movement is detected for a certain time, then the lights turns off. So that it's just saving electricity. And of course, I forgot about LED. Why LEDs? Because they are very, very energy efficient. So that was the downstairs before of the club. So you can see the cupboard, and it was in need of an update. And that's the the downstairs after. So the different things I've talked about here, the recessed downlighters, LED. Here we've got an LED stripe as well. Here we've got the bulbs I've been changing to LEDs, and you can see here the PIR system, and yes, and also we've used LED for the emergency light. So that was the emergency light that was in the club. So you can see big and ugly and needing maintenance. And now you can spot the emergency light just right here and doesn't require as much maintenance. It's green because it's charging, and it's very efficient. I've seen it used, to try it on, and it's very, very efficient. So that's so energy saving and efficient at the same time. So another feature that we've used is water saving. So we've used automatic tap. So on this picture, you can see two taps because in this particular sink, we needed drinking water. But otherwise, automatic tap, so that you avoid, having a tap that's not switched off correctly and dripping water for hours. So that's energy water saving. So made in the UK as well. Why made in the UK? Because it's good for the local economy and reduces carbon footprint instead of shipping things from thousands of miles. If we can have them, locally, it's much better. So we sourced the wallpaper was made in the UK. All the electrical accessories were made in North London. So the switches, plates, and etc. The mirrors were bespokely made in the UK as well. The vanity units, and made from, of course, wood from certified forests. So that was the upstairs of the ladies' room before. So you can see that it needs some love and care, and that's the after. So wallpaper made in the UK, the mirrors made in the UK, the wallpaper, and the furniture made in the UK. So you can see that even by, thinking a bit environmentally friendly doesn't mean that you're going to lose anything in the style. Now, reusing and recycling. So the carpet is cradle to cradle, so silver certificate. So that was the big excitement to finally be able to use a cradle to cradle certificate item. The chairs, so there were chairs in the room when you arrived, and instead of chucking the chairs out, we've renovated the chairs and reupholstered them. And all the old mirrors were given a new lease of life. So here you can see the chairs that were renovated. And what's good is because those chairs are everywhere in the club, they really maintain the unity of the club. And this is our cradle to cradle carpet. So there are tiles, carpets. We chose tiles because it's a public, it's a private club, but still a public area. And if anything happens, then a stain or one tile is damaged, then you will just need to change the one tile instead of changing the whole carpet if it's a wall-to-wall carpet. So that's another way of doing it. So the conclusion is that it's possible to introduce green credentials whenever. So we can do that whenever, and this doesn't mean that it's going to be less stylish. You can agree with me that this room has got a lot of green credential, but still has quite a lot of style. So that is feasible in every project. You just need to use common sense, and you don't need to invest a lot. It's without investing a lot, you can green up your house. You just have to rethink the way you live, and you don't have to reduce it. And that's what the cradle to cradle is about. It's just, changing the way we do things instead of reducing them. And then remember that the sourcing stage is when you decide what are you taking inside your house, and if you're inviting toxic molecules or not. So that was my webinar for today. I hope that you've enjoyed it. In case you have questions, don't hesitate to send me an email, and I will be happy to answer you. And of course, if that sort of thinking is something that interests you, and you don't know how to start your project, we have different packages that suits every sort of project. So I hope you've enjoyed this webinar, and I wish you a good evening now. So bye for now. Bye.